Hey, sports fans, I got a question for you. What do you think of the nickname Sweetness for an athlete? Is Sweetness an appropriate name for an athlete ever? I mean, athletes have to be physically and mentally tough. They have to be competitive. They have to be aggressive. Athletes have to deal with difficult situations. It's fun to win, it's fun to find personal success, but every athlete is going to experience loss. Every athlete is going to experience a situation where the weight of the team is on them. It's no fun being on the pitcher's mound, bases loaded, no outs, and winning runs on second base. Would you ever call an athlete Sweetness? And of course, the answer is yes. You're Chicagoans. You know that two of Chicago's finest athletes were nicknamed Sweetness. Walter Payton, the great Bears running back of the 70s and 80s, his nickname was Sweetness. And for those of you who are too young to remember him or think he's a building, there's Asher Radutny, a very fine athlete who is the very essence of sweetness. Asher is a sensitive guy. He can't hide his emotions even if he wants to. He feels deeply, and he's full of love. He loves his family. He loves his parents and his sister and his brother, his grandparents. He loves his friends, and he's got some great ones. He loves to be competitive. He loves sports. He loves his teammates, and he's a great team player. He's full of passion and love. I've enjoyed having conversations with him because I know that I'm going to talk with Asher. We're going to be talking about something that really matters, something that he feels deeply about. And I know there's some of you in the back who are grumbling, Asher, Sweetness. Have you never been in gym with Asher? Have you never been on the playing field playing football with Asher during lunchtime? Have you never been on the receiving end of Asher's trash talk? No, Asher and Sweetness do not ride in the same boat. To which I say, number one, okay, it's not a perfect world. In this world, sweetness comes with a bite. And two, well, let me tell you a story about Walter Payton. When Walter Payton was a young man, he was scrimmaging one day in college with his teammates, and he slipped a tackle. And as he got by, he turned around and he shouted down at his would-be tackler, "Sweetness is your weakness." Sweetness was not above trash talk. But from then on, his teammates referred to him as Sweetness because they knew something about him, which was that sweetness was not his weakness. Sweetness was his strength. And that's certainly true of Asher as well. Asher, it's been a pleasure knowing you. It's been a pleasure being your teacher. And it's been a pleasure seeing you grow up and become more confident in what you're doing and see you take on riskier and more difficult tasks. I remember in 5th grade, you came up to me one day, "Mr. Marcus, I don't do Hebrew. It's too hard." And you're right, Hebrew is hard, especially in our context where no one's speaking Hebrew around us. But by last year, Hebrew was part of your routine, and you were constantly pushing yourself forward. And it's great to see what you've become. And I look forward to seeing you in the near future and hearing what you're up to and hearing about your successes. Hatzlacha Rabbah, Asher. Good luck in all you do, in high school, in sports, and in life. Hats off. Actually, keep the hat on. It's hard for me to recognize you without the hat. Anyway, Asher, over to you.
Let me tell you how it all started. I started at Akiba when I was barely 2. I barely walked and I certainly didn't talk because my sister did all for me. In Ready, Set, Go, I learned that I could bite someone and make a best friend. I don't remember it, but thanks to Mary Beth, Dara, and Susan for being my very first teachers. Next came the purple room, where you get what you get and you don't get upset. Thanks to Bob, Dara, and Angela for that important lesson. The blue room taught me one of the most profound lessons at Akiba, just how much my teachers love and care about me. I am forever grateful to Arun and Melissa of blessed memory. And I do remember them this time. In kindergarten, I learned that the 100th day is the best day ever and how a teacher could have the loudest voice in the building. Now, let me transition to the other side of the building. When I entered first grade, I met some of my best friends that are still with me to this day. I also learned some of my favorite games, Set and Rat-a-Tat-Cat, which I never lose to this day. Thank you Mr. Salk and Mr. Essie for those spectacular 2 years. In second grade, I realized I have a hidden talent, which is being a pharaoh. Thank you Moshnazi for that. When I entered third grade, I had a completely different experience. It was a tough transition, but I did learn that my teacher can do the splits and has a big obsession with frogs. In fourth grade, I learned that life doesn't always go your way and you have to go with the flow and never quit. The good thing about those 2 years was Rabbi M being my teacher. Thank you to all the people that supported me through those years. When I entered fifth grade, it was my first year in middle school. I had some excitement and some nervousness, but I enjoyed it and learned that Augustus Scoop can fall in Chocolate Lake and survive. Thank you Mr. Roden for that opportunity. I also learned that Hebrew can be bumpier than that fall. That was the beginning of the journey with Mr. Tamiel. The journey ends on the bus. When I entered sixth grade, I was confident and excited, but then as we all know, the pandemic hit and we went to the Atmosphere / Buffalo Grove. It taught me a lot of life lessons, and I am forever grateful for everyone at Akiba for trying your hardest through those tough times. When 7th grade came on the corner, the pandemic was in full gears, and I learned to go with the flow and to relate everything to just society. And his generosity never ends. Quote Mr. Marcus. I will always remember the meaning life lessons you taught. Thank you to all the teachers that year for making it best as possible through those tough times. Now we are here, at the end of the road, 8th grade, the final show. I learned this year to be a leader and to advocate for myself. Thank you, Ms. Chipman. This is finally sticking. This is also the year where I was reminded 100 times a day to put my mask over my nose for the sake of the community. Mostly this year. I was trying to cherish the everlasting memories of being an 8th grader at the only school I ever known. Akiba has taught me to be open-minded and to stand up for yourself and to be a leader, not a follower. Thank you to the true leaders of Akiba that have been with me for a long time. Ms. Rothfeld, Ms. Chipman, Ms. Weissman, Carla, Ms. Cass, and of course, Ms. Tamiel. And to the new leaders, Mr. Maor, Mr. Golden, Rabbi Novak, Rabbi Bauman, Coach Lee, Coach West. Turns out math and Jewish studies and Hebrew aren't that bad. Thank you to everyone that has taught me. I can't leave out Dan Mason. You don't really work at Akiba, but for me, you have been a part of my journey since first grade. I would not have come this far without all your work, all of our work together. In Pikei Avot, it says, "Who is wise? He who learns from every person." Thank you to everyone who has taught me. I would like to thank my family, especially my parents, because without you, there would be no amazing Akiba experience. And for my amazing siblings, Roni and Sam. You guys have been somewhat supportive, somewhat annoying, but always full of talking and energy. And finally, my friends that I've made at Akiba. You always turn my days around and make me happy. I'll miss you guys. And don't skip leg day, Toby, Ari, and Rafi. Thank you for your time today.